going to cast on 3 stitches. 1, 2, 3. Now we're going to knit 11 more rows. Once you have knit 11 rows, you don't want to change, you don't want to turn. And now we're going to be picking up stitches. So let's leave these 3 here. Now I'm going to yarn over and I'm going to pick up in this garter ridge here. So just put your needle in, pick up a stitch, just kind of wherever you can find a space. Now we're going to do that again. Yarn over, move over to the next garter ridge, just wherever you can find a little space to pick up a new stitch. One more time, yarn over, and I'm going to go into this garter ridge here. Now I'm going to yarn over one more time and pick up 3 stitches along the cast on edge. 1, 2, 3. Now I should have 13 stitches. 1, 2. So knit 3, whenever you're going to knit, you want your yarn in the back. So if there needs to be a yarn over, we're going to yarn over to the back. And now we just knit across. In the pattern, I make a little note saying just be careful because sometimes the yarn over wants to cross over in front of the knit stitch. So you need to just be careful that you knit the knit stitch and then the yarn over. Knit stitch and then the yarn over. Sometimes you have to just push that little yarn over back a little bit so that you don't accidentally do the yarn over first. You can just push it back a little bit. Knit the knit. Now when we get to near the end, there's 3 stitches left. We're going to yarn over to the back because we want to knit. So it's in the back. I'll just do a yarn over to the back and knit 3. Let's take a look at these eyelets. I'm actually going to put my work here so it can curve. You can see the way that it's making this nice crescent shaped shawl already. And these eyelets look really good. Okay, I've only done a couple of rows after the eyelets here, but the purpose of this video is just to teach you about how to do the stitches. So I'm going to move on to the herringbone stitch now. And you'll notice in the pattern it talks about using a second strand, and that's to make this herringbone stitch a little bit thicker and a little bit fuller. And so what I like to do is, if I'm already using the outside of my ball of yarn, I'm going to also pull from the inside and grab a second strand there. So I have my second strand ready to go here when I need it. I also have my larger needle. And as I've said in the pattern, you don't need to switch all of these stitches onto your new needle. Now you just knit from your old needle onto the new size. We're going to knit 3. Yarn over front. Now I'm going to pick up my second strand. I'm going to put it together with my first one. We're going to purl to the last 3 stitches. You may not be able to stick your entire needle through, that's okay. But when you pull up your loop, it's going to make the new size. All right, I've purled to the last 3. I'm going to drop my second strand. Find it here. I'm going to drop it. Yarn over to the back. Knit the last 3. And that second strand, we're going to pick it back up in the next row. So we'll turn our work. Just remember which one is the first strand and which is the second. And now I've dropped my first needle. Knit the first 3. Now I'm going to pick up the second strand again. And I'm going to knit back, front, back into that one stranded stitch. With my 2 strands. Now I'm going to knit 2 together through the back loop and drop only 1. So it looks like there's 4 strands here, but it's 2 stitches. I'm going to knit through the back loop of both stitches. Whoops, I've just sort of split that stitch there a little bit. Okay. I'm gonna knit through both, but I'm only going to drop 1 off of the needle. Do that again, knit through the back loop of the next 2 stitches. And only drop 1 stitch, but it's both strands. You just have to push those off the needle. That's what causes them to lean to the side. You do have to kind of pay attention, but they just fall off the needle pretty easily. Okay, and do that across the row. All right, I'm coming to the end of my row here. I've got a couple of more herringbone stitches to do. I want to get to the last 5 stitches. So here's the 3 on the end, the yarn over, and this one here. I'm gonna knit through it, drop that one, and now I've got these 5 stitches left. Now I'm just going to knit through the back loop of that 1 stitch, knit front, back, front, now I'm going to drop my second strand and just knit the last 3 with just 1 strand. If you notice anything on the sides that need to get fixed up with this second strand, you can always, when you're gonna break the yarn here, you can always weave in your ends so that it's nice and neat. Okay, on the wrong side, this is like the last row of the herringbone stitch, but we have cut off our second strand now, and now we're going to pick up our smaller needles again and knit 3. If you want to make these knit stitches a little bit looser because you're just coming off of a bigger needle, and then it won't look quite so funny. It's actually not going to make that big of a difference, but if you want to do those first 3 knit stitches a little looser, that might be good. Okay, we're going to yarn over front and purl 2 together. So insert through that the front loop, purl 2 together and drop 1, similar to what we did on the last row with dropping 1. So insert through both, drop 1. One of the stitches. Be careful that you're not dropping just one strand. But because they're stitches, they're going to just naturally drop together. Okay, we want to go until there are 4 stitches left on the left-hand needle. We'll purl 1. And now yarn over to the back. And knit 3. And that finishes off the herringbone part of the shawl. And now we don't need our larger needle again until we do the herringbone section later on. You can see that beautiful herringbone stitch coming through. That's so nice. So continue on with the pattern, and I'm going to come back and show you the bobbles next. Andrea Mowry has a really great video about these bobbles, but I have modified them a little bit to make them bigger. So I'm going to show you how I've done them. All right, so I want to make the bobble into the next stitch. Knit into the front, knit into the back, and then the front again of the same stitch. Now we've just made 3 stitches on the right hand needle. We're going to knit, it's kind of like knitting backwards. So you're going to take your left hand needle and put it into the back of that stitch and just wrap your yarn around and bring your stitch over and drop. Let's do that again. Knit through the back of that second stitch, put your yarn around the needle and just bring it through like this, over and off. One more time, through the back, bring your yarn around. Okay, so now we have knit these 3 stitches again. Now the stitches are twisted, so when we knit again, we're going to knit through the back of them. Knit 1, 2, and 3 through the back. Now I do this one more time. So I'm going to put my needle through the back of the stitch, wrap the yarn around and pull it through the back, yarn around, pull it through, back, around, and through. And then knit through the back one more time because they're twisted. Now Andrea doesn't do this whole thing, that back and forth, that many times, but in my project I wanted to make the bobble a little bit bigger, so I just repeated those a couple of times. Okay, so now we're going to take these out of the 3 stitches that we've been working on, take 2 and 3 and just put them over 1. It's like we're casting them off. So put those 2 on your needle and slide them off. And you can pull your yarn a little bit tight, and we've made a bobble. And so you can now just sort of push it tightly there, and you've made your bobble. Now, if you would rather not have such a large bobble, you can maybe try it out, try different ones. That's fine. You don't need to make it so large. This one is turning out a lot bigger because I'm using a thicker yarn than I did in my actual project, on the example that is on the pattern, but you can do it smaller. So if you would rather just go knit front, knit back, knit front, and then knit through those 3 at the back. Oops. You can do that. 1, 2, 3. Then they're twisted, so you want to knit through the back of those stitches. 1, 2, 3. You can end there and take these 2 stitches off of the needles. You can do it one by one too if you want to just do that, if it's easier than doing both at the same time. And there's a bobble. So you can make different sizes. You can choose which size you like better. For my really fingering weight yarn, for the smaller weight yarn, I wanted larger bobbles. I wanted them to stand out a little more. But yeah, that's how you make those bobbles, the herringbone, the eyelets, and that cast on. Okay, lastly, I just want to show you how to do the crochet edge. And so I've just put a couple of eyelets here and bound off quickly. But grab your crochet hook and your yarn, and we're going to join into the corner. So I'm just going to insert my hook somewhere on the corner there. And pull your yarn through. So I've got a little tail here and 1 loop on my hook. So I'm going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3 for the first one, and for the last one at the very end you'll do just a chain 3. And you can just kind of see that there's a couple of stitches here. I'm just going to move and do a single crochet, 1, 2, maybe. I know in the actual pattern there's not going to be an eyelet right away, so let's just go maybe right here. And you're going to put it through a space, pull up a loop, yarn over, and pull through both loops. That's a single crochet. Now we're going to chain 5 and go into each eyelet. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And now find the next eyelet. Put your hook inside the eyelet. So you're not going through just one of the stitches inside there. You're going to actually go inside the eyelet, pull up a loop, and do a single crochet. And chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Find the next eyelet, hook inside into the eyelet, pull up a loop, yarn over, and pull through. And that's going to give you this little nice edging all along the end. The eyelets with the herringbone and the bobbles, and then the eyelets and herringbone again, and then we've got the crocheted edge there. Thank you for purchasing this pattern, and I hope you have a really fun time making it. Happy knitting!